All right, guys and gals, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Daily Roundup webinar. Hope everybody is doing okay. So nice bounce back in the euro. So, I guess I want to point out a couple of things. The euro dollar, it pulled back a little bit, but we pulled back to trendline support. We're building this wedge. It looks like we're eventually going to break higher, right? And I would be a little careful once we got to like 122.63 if we get up there, because it would be my assumption it would be something like this, right? That would be my assumption if we end up breaking higher. So we got the euro dollar that's pretty well bid. Cables come off a little bit. And there was just a tweet that came from Laura. Here it is. This one right here. Laura Kunsberg, sorry. She said, after a cheery mood on Brexit, the UK is now denying there had been significant progress. Government sources say talks remain difficult. We will not sign up to dynamic alignment through the back door. Going on to suggest there is simply no truth in suggestions UK has shifted on fishing. So anyway, the point is the cable's still under a little bit of pressure. I think ultimately, there's going to be a deal that gets done, but will we, and I guess this is the point that I'm going to try to make, will we get to 130 first before we, rally, or will we maybe make it to 131 before bouncing? I think at the end of the day, a deal is going to get done. It's just, do we come all the way down there, or maybe a deal does get done and we're from here and we break through 135.50. All I know is a break above 135.50 would be very bullish near term. When I say near term, we'd probably spend a couple of days ripping up to 140. I mean, that's just kind of the way that it would be, right? Some other things that developed today is, I sold my dollar Canadian early. I got out of it right around here for a break even at the 42 or something. I got out of my dollar Mexican peso as we were moving up towards 2015. I didn't think we were going to puncture through 2020, but it actually hit the stops and then came off now. I wouldn't stand in the way of this. And I told the guys and gals in the chat room today that if you held a gun to my head and say you have to buy $1 against something, it would be against the peso. That would be it. I mean, because we've come out of this descending wedge, it's very bullish. If you held a gun to my head for a second time, it would be the dollar Canadian. I was long both of them. Because we hit the 161% extension. That doesn't mean that we're going to turn though, but they are, if you were doing a counter trend trade with dollar longs, they were basically the right places to be. So that's good because, if you think about Friday we were in the dollar, the Aussie dollar. We were right where we're at right here. We were a little bit lower. We're at 73.30, or 75.30, and it pushed up into new highs. And where the dollar Canadian did not push to new lows, or the dollar Mexican peso did not either. So those are the right places to be if you're going to be long the dollar. I just don't think that being long the dollar right now is the right place to be. And that's why I took those trades off. So I hope that makes sense to you guys on, the method to my madness there. I'm really hoping this Aussie dollar, and I want you guys to take a look at this chart because, I did post this on Twitter that we're near that 38% retracement. The fact of the matter is the Aussie dollar is in breakout territory. So what I'm hoping happens here is we get a move back down to 74, 20, 74.50, because I think we're going to eventually break that 76 and change. I just don't know if we're going to do it right at this very second. I do think we're going to, this is such a big area at the 76.30 level that I think we're going to come close to it. And we might even test it, depending on what happens the next couple of days. Sorry, guys, I just had to sneeze. We might test it. I'd rather be long here on a dip. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I do think that the dollar is in a very bearish trend, and you got to just keep that in mind. And I think unless the euro dips back below 120, we just have to assume that the dollar weakness is here to stay, especially going into year end. Once the FOMC on Wednesday, they confirm they're going to stay loose forever. You know what that's going to do? It's going to end up goosing the stock market, making it go higher again, because people will say, fine, we still got the green light from the Fed. Let's go ahead and continue to buy stocks. And then they're going to continue to sell dollars, right? So I think that's got to be the focus for us near term, is just dollar down, stocks up. And we're getting into that period of the year, the last couple of weeks, where no one wants to stand in the way. You might be a dollar bull, and you're like, and I'll just give you an example. First of all, I actually think the dollar is going to bounce. I think we're pretty oversold. I think that the dollar is going to bounce. My opinion, though, is we might get down to here first before bouncing, or maybe even lower. Hell, I mean, if this double top plays out, I mean, we're going way lower. But we might even play out a little bit lower. Towards like the 84 cent level in the dollar index before we actually bounce. And could that even happen by year end or the first couple of weeks of January? Sure. Who's going to stand in the way? When the market's illiquid, that stocks are just in breakout territory. No one wants to stand in the way of that. So what I'm looking to do right now, and I actually bought a little bit of euro when it was down in the 30s, and I sold it in the 50s. But I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to look to buy the euro probably down here, 121, because I actually think that we might, break through this support and then bounce. I'm going to just continue to buy dips, and especially while we're above 120.80, 120, 120.50. I mean, that's really where I want to be long, is just down on these dips. And I think eventually a Brexit deal is going to get done. And that might be the catalyst that actually drives the dollar like significantly lower. If you think about it, the dollar, the cable, finally moves above 135, is going to be a cascading event then, because then the euro is going to breach 122, 123. Aussie is going to breach 76 cents, 77 cents. It's going to be like you're just not going to want to be long the dollar when or if a Brexit deal gets done, right? Okay, so I hope that that makes sense to you guys. Sell dollar rallies until further notice, probably until mid-January or February 1st, somewhere in that time frame. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I think that's what we got to continue to do. Other developments is stocks continue to be pretty well bid. I know they're off a little bit right now, but we're still above 3,600, and while we're above 3,600, we'll probably continue to higher. We may pull back a little bit, but those pullbacks will probably be fairly minimal. All right, guys and gals, I hope you are having a great trading Monday. And as we wind down the end of the year, liquidity is going to be poor. So just be careful out there. Don't be overexposed. Try to keep your trades to, smaller position size. If you're going to go counter trend, like let's say you're out there buying the dollar, just do it small, and if you're wrong, don't don't stick around being on the wrong side for too long of a period of time, if that makes sense to you. All right. All right, guys and gals, thank you so much for your support. As always, thank you for being part of the ForexAnalytix family. I should mention this to you guys. I need to mention this to you guys that you see Live Squawk. We're going to be offering Live Squawk, the audio service, to you soon. And it's going to be a discount from going directly to Live Squawk. So it's, it's not like a super expensive service, but you'll at least get a discount being with us. That availability will hopefully be around or available right after the first of the year. We're just trying to wrap up loose ends with the player, with the development of it all. So it's cool. It'll be a nice little feature for you guys to get for a discounted amount. And I mean, why not? Because it'll save you, I think it's like an 18% savings, which isn't, dollar wise, it's not going to be a huge amount, but it's nice to have Squawk service, especially if you don't have Bloomberg, to get those headlines, blurted out when they happen. It's very, very nice to have. I have a Squawk service too. I don't use Live Squawk because of the service that my firm uses, but it's nice to have that when, something happens. It's like, I can turn up the volume and then hear it, from across the room. It's really nice. Anyway, thanks guys. Have a great one. And remember, we're doing all this for you, and I hope you appreciate it. And thank you so much for being part of our family, because I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll talk to you in the chat rooms or tomorrow morning on the Face webinar. Thanks.